embrace of the hostages and the parents after they first see them is mind-blowing. Such incredible passion, love, joy. It's just something else. And this leads me to ask the following question. How are we meant to deal with this situation in the deal? On the one hand, we see this incredible joy, and we are very happy for the hostages who are released. On the other hand, we know that this deal is going to endanger future Israelis, Jews. All these terrorists that have been released, we know what they do. When the army has to go back into Gaza, they would have rearmed themselves, reconstituted their battalions. It would just make it so much harder for Israel to achieve what it needs to achieve. So how do you marry these two feelings? These two, on the one hand, great joy, on the other hand, trepidation. Do you possibly throw caution to the wind, say, I'm just happy for the hostages, I'm not going to consider any other ramifications? Or do you say, because it's such a terrible deal, I cannot be happy for the hostages? Well, the Alter Rebbe talks about this dilemma. The Alter Rebbe today, Chavdalah Teves, the 24th of Teves is his yahrzeit, speaks about a similar dilemma of each person within himself. We know one of the main concepts of what Chassidus is about is to shine a light and understand ourselves well. It's about understanding who you are. And Chassidus shines a light about everything, but including our own character. So just like we have to see the positives, we also have to know our deficiencies, the flaws in our character, the negative behaviors, the time and place that we are not at our best. And if one wants to be honest with themselves and realize all the negatives, that can actually bring you down to be despondent, sad. So, but on the other hand, it is a principle of Judaism, and especially Chassidus emphasizes this, Ivdus Hashem b'simcha. We have to be joyous. We have to serve Hashem with joy. How do you have that? How do you marry the two? Serving Hashem with joy, which is an imperative, but on the other hand, when we're honest with ourselves and our behavior and our character, we could see many deficiencies and actually should, if you're honest, bring yourself to certain melancholy, certain sadness. So Alter Rebbe says, this is how you have to deal with it. Yes, on the one hand, it's true what the deficiencies of an animal soul and a body and negative character traits, and sometimes we haven't overcome our impulses and so on. At the same time, we have to realize that we have literally a part of Hashem within us. And it's in exile. It's in exile in our body. It's captured by our animal soul. And it doesn't express itself for who and what it is. But here's the kicker. Hashem has given us Torah and mitzvahs in order to redeem our souls from the captivity in the body and animal soul. Says the Alter Rebbe, every time we do a mitzvah, every time we learn Torah, we're actually taking our divine soul out from its captivity. That's the way he uses the term. And uniting it with Hashem. And he says, there is no greater joy than when the prince comes out of his captivity and embraces and comes close to his father, the king. So every time we do a mitzvah, every time we learn Torah, yes, we might have the negative side. There's room for that. But when we learn Torah and we do mitzvahs, we have to think about that as an opportunity of taking the hostage that is our divine soul out of the experience of where it is and embracing Hashem. See the embrace? That's the embrace that we have with God every time we do a mitzvah, every time we do something positive. So yes, on the one hand, we have crying on our left side of our hearts. On the other hand, we have joy on the right side of our heart, so to speak. The Rabbi Elazar ben Reb Shimon, the Reb Shimon bar Yochai son, said that his father taught him the secrets, the mystical reasons behind the destruction of the temple. And he says, on the one hand, he had crying in his heart for the destruction, but joy for the revelation of the deep spiritual ideas that he was privy to from his father. And so this is the reality of us as people. On the one hand, we have sadness, possibly, for our deficiencies. But on the other hand, that in itself heightens the joy that we have because of every time we take our soul out of the bondage that is our weaknesses and our negative side. And so therefore, talk about the hostage release. We have to be fully joyous, fully happy for the release of those hostages, and celebrate their release, and celebrate with them and their family, even as we still have this concern about what the future might hold. Nevertheless, that should not take away from the joy of those who have come out, and be happy for them, and be happy for those who are coming out afterwards. We can live in those both worlds at the same time. That's what Alter Rebbe is telling us. That's the nuance of the human condition, that we can have on the same time a concern and a sadness in a sense, but that in itself accentuates the joy and the happiness of coming together and coming closer to Hashem, which we do every single time we do a mitzvah. And if you have that in your mind, you have that as a meditation, thinking, I'm doing a mitzvah now. What I'm doing, what I'm going to achieve by doing this mitzvah, whatever it might be. This is God's way of helping me take my divine soul out of its imprisonment, out of its exile, out of its golus, out of its captivity, and reuniting it with Hashem. And that should bring me tremendous amount of joy and happiness that I'm able to achieve and do that. Good Shabbos.